Kyle?
Yeah, let's get back to the budget, 'cause it's going to be a difficult issue from here on, as far as the horizon.
It's already a difficult
it's not. So basically, it just goes to a priority. One of the big things is because we know that the state's probably not going to be having a good budget to throw in a chunk of change. How do you propose dealing with possible cuts? Is it programs versus teachers, or how do you prioritize that? And then how do you do prioritize maybe like programs, if it comes down to programs? What would you like to keep in the basket? What were you gonna fight with every inch of your life to save? What would you maybe change? Or do we go after a revenue enhancement at the local level?
Well, that's a lot of questions. Let me try to get my arms around those. Programs and the folks who lead and teach those programs really do go hand in hand. We can't pretend that we're going to reduce teachers and not affect program, and we can't pretend similarly that we're going to eliminate programs and have something for all the teachers to do. So I think that those are just locked in terms of their both importance, but in terms of their delivery to the students in the district. We've wrestled with this. You mentioned this is an issue that's going to be facing us. As I said earlier, it's an issue we are already facing and have faced now for some period of time. We have gone through now 2 cycles, correct me, Kathy, of real severe, 3, but 2 really severe rounds of budget cutting that resulted in a layoff process that nobody likes. And the reason that process occurred is because the state code forces us into certain positions with respect to hiring, or in this case, layoffs in advance of the school year beginning, months and months and months in advance, and certainly also months in advance of budgets being adopted. So we have to make decisions more or less in an economic vacuum and then figure out how to backfill after the fact. That's resulted in a very, very painful process of these layoffs, and then we have been able to, through a lot of belt tightening at the administrative level, at the program level, Al, that you're talking about, and at other, trying to, in some instances, get federal funds that were available for a little bit, and some other funds from the Davis Schools Foundation's efforts and other groups that have raised monies. We've been able to pull ourselves out of the hole that we had to put ourselves in with those layoffs. And so, for the most part, we have brought ourselves back to a position of wholeness. This year is a good example. We had 37 new hires. I believe the number is 37 teachers that we were able to bring in this year because of those funding adjustments, and also because of some retirements that helped us out. So we don't know that until late in the game. Short answer to the original question is, I don't say that the retention of programs is paramount over the retention of teachers, because again, if we don't have the teachers, it doesn't matter. You can have all the programs in the world in name, but if you don't have the people to lead those programs, they're of no value. But I do say that we have to do this sequentially, and the way it works out is we deal with teacher reductions because we're required to just early on in the year, and then we have been able to backfill. So that's the first, I think, the first part of your question. And then this last part of the question dealt with
revenue enhancements is.
Well, part of those revenue enhancements is, I think, what I was talking about. So, well, I'll get to that in a second. But the monies that have been raised through the community efforts are huge revenue enhancements. The problem has been there's a few angles to the problem. One is that those are one-time monies that come in and they help us fill a gap for a given year, but they don't give us a sustainable source of funding for the years that follow, and we're required to adopt at least a 3-year budget that shows we have a sustainable source of funding to carry it forward. So despite the phenomenal efforts of people here in this community to step up and raise those funds, that's not a long-term solution, but it is a revenue enhancement, and it is one that has saved us quite a bit. Other revenue enhancements include, as you just mentioned, the parcel tax, which we have 2 of currently. through the hard work and efforts of folks like Kathy and others who have really spent a lot of time to ensure passage of these measures, we are going to be facing the expiration of those parcel taxes, and we are in need of renewing them. So that is a sustainable source of revenue that will carry us through for a period of years. Historically, we've had them for 4-year periods. Each tax is adopted as a 4-year tax, and it has to be renewed by a vote of 66%. So it's not even a majority vote. It's a much higher bar that has to be crossed. But we have a need to reinstitute those taxes, to reevaluate what level those taxes need to be at, so that we ensure ourselves a sustainable source of income over a long period of time. Hopefully, in my view, longer than 4 years. I think we need to have a tax that gives us that stability for a 6 or so year period at least. And then the other thing I would just say, because this is reality, is all of those sources of revenue enhancement, you got to look at them in the light of today's situation, which we have. I mean, we're really lucky and blessed to live in a community that has resources that many, many communities don't have, but there's limits even in our community. And so asking folks to continue to write checks to Davis Schools Foundation, asking folks to go to the ballot and vote for additional taxes when they're facing job layoffs, when they're facing furloughs, when they're facing spouses who are going through job reductions, or when they're just facing higher costs on a day-to-day basis, whether it's energy costs or whatever other costs they have to deal with, is a very difficult thing. So in recessionary times, we have a need to go out and ask for more economic assistance from the community, because we're not getting it from our historical sources at the state, and that's a difficult task. And so I understand and respect and I'm very appreciative of the fact that we've gotten as far as we've gotten, and we need to convey to the community the importance of doing that into the future, because if we don't, then we really are going to be in a slash and burn environment that is compelled by no money. And the no money environment gets to the first part of your question, which is the programs are going to just dwindle up, or will evaporate, because we won't be able to sustain those. We will have to go through layoffs where we can't recover the teachers again, and it will be a very, very different school system. So that's what I want to avoid. That's why I think I can come to the table and bring background and good approach to this, and experience and knowledge and understanding of the workings of the budget, the community, the schools, everything else, and get us through this cycle.